Peace, peace, peace. We are back in the building, people. This is the Valley of Dry Bones, where we're gonna wake the dead, even if they don't want it. I'm over here sitting, looking out my window, looking at the snow as it covers the trees, right, on this Saturday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Now, before we get started, let me say a few things like please hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell so you can be informed whenever new content is uploaded or we go live, like right now, right? And also want to give a shout out. Hold on, let me put my book up here and do a quick advertising for my book, Street Skelly, Knock 'em Out the Box. Now, a late night fender bender leaves Pernell Purple, a proud husband, father, and prominent Harlem businessman dead on the side of the road, with no clues as to why his life was cut short. Purple's death forces his two sons from opposite sides of the law to form an unlikely team to find the killer. Skelly, Purple's youngest child, is a lone wolf and hardened criminal with a knack for getting into trouble, wants answers by any means necessary. Along with his brother Darren, a New York City detective, are in a race against time trying to find answers, and the clock is ticking. This murder mystery has these two brothers, along with the detective's partner Ortiz, combing the city for clues and leaving a bloody trail in their wake. Can they find the killers before the police do? Join us on this great adventure called Street Skelzy, Knock 'em Out the Box, right? Now, let's get into what we're here today to talk about, which is identifying the sophist in modern times. Now, when I say the sophist or the sophist, I am talking about the Freemason and their tactics, right? And this is how, once you learn this, you will be able to spot them in real time, right? Now, give me 1 second so I can get my audience up inside here, all right? First, okay, right. So now we got the what's the name coming through. Now, I don't know why did it bring up my timeline thing, so I'm gonna go in there and have to take that out now. Right? Okay. Hold on 1 second here. All right. Let me go in here. Let me go into my layers. Let me take it's supposed to be my ticker, but for some reason that's not what's coming up here. All right. I don't know why it's there because I could have sworn I took it down. All right. Let me take that away. Pardon me 1 second here before we get into this. I'll probably cut it out in my edited version. Hey, so let me go inside here real quick and let's see. Non-alcohol social. Right, YouTube, face cam. See, this is saying it's not up. It's telling me it's not on there. But I know my ticker is on there because I'm looking dead at the ticker. Right? So something is not right. Hold on. Let me go into my social thing here. Okay, that's what the problem is. Right? Okay. Refresh. There we go. All right. house rules. So we have this up right there. Let me take this down for y'all. So now we can get into what we need to get into. All right. Let me bring this up and let's enlarge this right here. So, identifying the sophist in modern times, right? How do we do this? First, you got to know what a sophist is, right? What is a sophist? A sophist was a teacher in ancient Greece in the 5th and 4th century BCE. Sophists specialized in one or more subject areas such as philosophy, rhetoric, music, athletics, and mathematics. Now, as we study, we know we hear the mathematics reference, especially when if you don't know them, if you just listen, and we hear a lot of people make references, it's all about mathematics and this, that, and the third, the G and Freemasonry is geometry and these type of things. So in understanding that, we can place these things alongside the sophists. The number one thing where we will be focusing on in this one is philosophy and rhetoric, right? Because we already know how, the music industry and, athletics, or any celebrity, should we say. When we say athletics, we're talking celebrities and how they are used, to sway public opinion. Right. So we won't be focusing on them right now. We will be focusing on philosophy and rhetoric. Right. These are the things. And just keep in mind, the mathematics. Right. They taught virtue and excellence predominantly to young statesmen and nobility. Right. And so, you see the picture of Sonetta here, because if you looking for the modern day Mason or the modern day sophist, and you want to see them in real time, after you understand, this show right here, you will be able to go to shows like Sonetta and see these individuals in real time, right? Etymology. The Greek word sophos, a wise man, is relates to the noun Sophia, wisdom. The word gives rise to the verb sophizo, to instruct, to learn. The passive voice of which means to become or be wise or be clever or skilled. So this is why I have your boy over here, clever or skilled, and we'll be understanding why him and other people I chose, for these, as an illustration, right? The word sophist could be combined with other Greek words to form compounds, right? In the second half of the 5th century BCE, particularly in Athens, right, sophists came to denote a class of mostly itinerant, right, traveling intellectuals that taught courses in various subjects, speculated about the nature of language and culture, and employed rhetoric to achieve their purposes, generally to persuade or convince others. So when we talk about rhetoric, we know that it's words, using these words to persuade and convince others, right? So then when we look at, these debates, right, and they're trying to convince you that, Africa is in America. Egypt is in America, and, the slave trade never happened. We are all really Americans, the whole, Moorish science and all of that, movement, and we'll be addressing them as well. But when we see that, we understand that that's rhetoric. So we will be getting into how to use rhetoric, right? But for now, we're just discussing those who use it on you. Right. So before you can even learn it, you should be wise enough to understand how it's being used on you. Right. Hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you inside the building. Yes. Right. As you can see, we get the shout out, Truth Seekers Unite. Yes, thank you. As you can see, you get your your texts come up on the screen, right? Salute, baby, salute. Right? So the Sophists did, however, have one important thing in common. Whatever else they did or did not claim to know, they characteristically had a great understanding of what words would entertain or impress or persuade an audience. Sophists went to Athens to teach because the city was flourishing at the time, right? So, as we can see them coming on the internet and making this financial gain, right, due to, right, these debates and stuff like that, but also in their personal lives, these stuffs can garnish them finances. They write books and so forth and convince people of this rhetoric, right? Sophists did, however, have, one important thing in common. Whatever they did or did not claim to know, they characteristically had a great understanding of what words would entertain or impress or persuade an audience. Sophists, right, went to Athens to teach because the city was flourishing. So we can see these individuals in real time, right? It was good employment for those good at debate, right? Which was a specialty of the first sophists, and they received fame and fortune they were seeking. And we can see this again throughout the conscious community. We can see this use of this rhetoric, right, to gain financial gain, because all you need is an X amount of people to co-sign what you're saying for even nonsense to be accepted as reality, right? Pythagoras is generally regarded as the first of these professional sophists or sophists, right? Most of these sophists are known today primarily through the writings of their opponents, right? Which makes it difficult to assemble an unbiased view of their practices and teachings, right? So, like, if I was just simply saying what Freemasonry was and what they do and this, that, and the third, they are allowed to hide behind that, right? Because you are not able to see it in real time. So this is why I took the time, like Plato, to not only break it down, but to show it to the people in a way that they can grasp it. So, this is designed for you to walk away and see what is taking place around you. So this is why it's very important to notice. Most of these sophists are known today, primarily through the teachings' opponents. Okay, in some cases, such as Gorgias, original rhetorical works are extant, allowing the author to be judged on his own terms. But in most cases, knowledge about what individual sophists wrote or said comes from fragmentary quotations that lack context and are usually hostile, right? So we can say that, right? If we talked about ciphers and writing in a code so other people won't know, what you're doing. So while they're writing this down and writing how to approach people and what words and belief systems, are used to attract them, right? Bloodline of Jesus, daughters. Well, not Jesus. It would be her sister, like no, his twin sister. How they would try to break it down to, but it would be we will be getting into that. So just give me a second. We will not the Jesus part, but Sophia. Yes, we will be touching on that specifically, right? It's usually hostile. So now that we look at why most of the time this information is hard to get is because of the fact of those who have it are hiding the information, like how they approach, what words and techniques they use, and they pass this, to their followers in order for them to go out and advance, this approach, this logic, that's spread out and how to attack the mind, right? So then we come into history. Originally known as Sicilians, they began to teach Athenians how to speak in a persuasive manner in order to work the courts and senate, right? So as we know, the Moorish science and how you're supposed to know the Constitution, and they always talk these legal terms, right? And so we know not, and if you do any research on most of the stuff they say, is pseudo. You know what I'm saying? It's not real. So they're teaching you something, right? Only to distract you, and if you attempt to use it, right, you're going to put yourself in a screwed position. Let me see here. Any connection to Martinism? It's always going to be, whenever you see any of these isms. Yes, ism is going to be connected to this because these are all philosophies. You see what I'm saying? And so these different philosophies, pardon me 1 second here. My camera just fell over there. Okay, so these different philosophies is what's being turned into this system that we see. So when you hear the isms, these isms are these philosophies, and these philosophies are spread out through these cults, right? Because the isms is a person's, or the individual's approach to a situation. So now you have this approach, but how did the approach spread is what the rhetoric is. So we'll be dealing with the rhetoric on how to get a train of thought beyond an individual to a greater outlook, right? So we'll have this greater impact on society, right? Let's see here. We got another complaint. It goes Sophist, Theosophitical. Yes, exactly. Let's see. Yeah. Yes. You on point, right? Okay, so now let's get to this right here. It is not known how these Sicilians who came to be Sophists initially grew a interest in teaching others how to speak persuasively. Well, the system was already there as far as I know, right? Pardon me here. The system was already there. It wasn't a system, because when we go into Pythagoras, we'll understand that all he did was join, when he was in Egypt, was join basically, these cults and figure out how to implement that same system into growing, his group, which would be the Greeks, right? And the app and so he's going into Egypt, taking that information and bringing it back into Egypt. I mean, into Greece, for him to start his own movement. So what I'm doing is the same thing. I learned their system, and now I'm giving it back to the people in order for us to combat that system. Right, so you have to understand the system in order to combat it. So if you want to understand it, understand rhetoric. And once you understand rhetoric, you would understand how this is like a church, right? So you have this system, this belief, we're going to call rhetoric a design of belief and understanding, right? So this belief and perception of understanding is constructed for you, right? So they're building a belief and shifting how your perception of it is. That's rhetoric. To build a belief, right? So we hear the matrix and the blue pill and the red pill, and right, and so we can see in today's time how people will use that in their daily life to the point that we're in the matrix, and right, so that rhetoric has spread. It has given itself a life to where anybody, since we're in a technical era and we understand computers and these type of things, you built your world around something that people are dealing with, computers. So now they can see themselves in this quote unquote matrix. So now you have built this structure, this rhetoric, and now it continues on, right? And that's how, the Sufi is, yes, they are. You're talking about the Muslims, right? The Muslim group, the Sufis and shit. Yes, they are a part of this system as well. Yes. If we're talking about the same people, right? Okay. So that's why I put Noble Drew Ali up there, because they came out of the Prince Hall school, right? So they came out the Prince Hall. They started their system, following the Ottoman. Yes, they are. Yes, following the Ottoman Empire, and so this was the information that they had, and so this was how they was able to get into this system as well, right? But if you can see, it's not necessarily benefiting the people as a whole, because all you're doing is building a concept, but you're still bringing people into the same system. So whether we have the Christian, the Satanic, or the Islamic, we as a people need to step away from all of that, right? And so we need to form our own philosophy, right? Which I've been working on myself, in the hopes that other people will join in and help build this new philosophy constructed, for our own benefit, right? We need to walk away from black nobility, what it says connection. Yes, that's what I'm trying to do. Like I said, I'm even, trying to walk away from the English language. So now I would call it, how you got Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy. I would say like an African black philosophy, but even those two terms will be eradicated because we will be walking away from the English language. Because once we understand this, we'll understand language, and we'll understand how to build our own universal language, right, within our own community, and use that to advance us in a new system. Right, so we can keep the Eastern philosophy, the Asians, and we can keep the Western philosophy, the Europeans, and we need to construct our own philosophy. And so this is what this is all about, because as we can see, these two systems have not been beneficial to us as a people. So we need to walk away from both of these two philosophy, these mind binding views of things, and open up a new system where it's beneficial to us. You understand what I'm saying? That's what philosophy is. The world that you live in is based on philosophy. English language is yes, it's cursed. That's why we got cursive writing. Okay. And curse or cuss words. Okay. Um we will be getting into that. Like I said, we will be getting into language. We will be getting into how this, like, the French and, the language of love and these type of things, so it's the romantic language, right? They consider, French the romantic language. So to understand why these things is like the la and the ah, the flowing of the words, right? The harmony within, the vowels and the pronunciation, whether you might have a harsh, Russian, language or overtone. So these would be the things, how you design your language, right? A language would have to come, with a sense of identity to it, right? So this is what we would be working on as well within our communities, right? We will be breaking away from one. So then we also inside areas, say, you got people all over the globe. So say, you got people in the Caribbeans, right? And they design, their rhetoric and dialogue, right? But it's still universal to us as far as philosophy, right? So your rhetoric and your philosophy, although they are not the same, they work hand in hand, right? So you build this language to sway the people. This is how rhetoric works, right? So then we come over here, right? And we got Pythagoras, right? Pythagoras was one of the best known and most successful sophists in his era. However, some later philosophers, such as Sextus, right, treat him as the founder of a philosophy rather than a sophist, right? So they're saying, frequently fabrication. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And this is how this works. Through that, through understanding these tones, these and as you study, you'll see it when, say a negative, right? These negative connotation versus these positive, and you'll hear a deeper sound coming from one area and a higher pitch sound coming from the other. So these are all things that a craftsman would master, right? And craft out and build. So I'm not, able to build this whole thing on my own. I'm not, a master in all fields. You know what I'm saying? So this is why, you need this group effort, right? So what I'm doing is trying to build, makes a vow to take a vow. Okay. I'm not sure what that means. You probably have to break that down a little bit more. Right? But we basically on the same page, right? So, rather than a sophist. So they're saying that Pythagoras is not just a sophist, he actually designed his own philosophy. And this is what, I am. I'm a philosopher. I'm not a sophist. I'm not here to debate you. I'm not here to convince you of fallacies. Right. Okay. Exactly. Right. So I'm not here for that. That's what the sophist is. That's where you see me putting up the brother polites and, the Nation of Islam and these groups, because although some of them, like, I can't say they're all there as a total negative, right? So they're there to put some identity into you. Like I can't be all mad at the Nation of Islam. I can't be all mad at what do you call them? Moorish science, because from one, like say you had the Moorish science, from the Moorish science, you get the Nation of Islam. From the Nation of Islam, you get the 5% nation. From the Nation of Islam, from the Moorish science, you also get Nuwabians. That I don't necessarily mess with that, but you can see how from these groups there's a break off, and they still continue the theme, because that's what it really is. It's about the theme and building through history, through time, as we'll see, right? So Pythagoras taught his students the necessary skills and knowledge for successful life, and particularly in politics. So this is why you see again I used the Moorish science, because they are the group that we see, the what they got. Oh, I'm a sovereign citizen, and these type of things. So they'll use the words like sovereign. You look these words up and have a full understanding of what those mean, and you can understand what they're alluding to, right? But are they using it in its proper context? That's the problem. Okay. Draconian. Yes. Black nobility. Correct. Right. So we can see this in the politics and these type of things, right? So we can go, okay, this is what the agenda is, right? And so this is where, we can see these groups, right? We can see them. That's why even when you think about masonry, they quote unquote say, no, we don't, in the lodge, we don't talk politics or religion, but that is, bogus. Let me say, to say the least, that is bogus, right? Pythagoras wrote about a variety of subjects and advanced several philosophical ideas, particularly in epistemology, right? So, as we can see, right, what philosophy, right, what a philosopher is, and what a sophist is. Well, we'll be getting more into a sophist, but you understand philosophy is those who's seeking the truth and in attempts to present the truth, right? Whereas a sophist is there to present what is most beneficial to them at the time, and most of the time it's under fallacious, claims. It ain't real, right? Right. So, and I'm going to use, right. So then we look at in politics how we see this criminal environment, right. And connected with, trying to advance. So we'll use Otis Dada Perry as a crime boss and the head of the 63rd Street mob and on the Showtime series The Chi. He was introduced as the owner of a pizza parlor. Perry is portrayed by Curtis. He is also a part-time politician and full-time hustler with a point to prove, right? So that's the point that, when you see me pulling out the Polites and the Nature Boys and the what's his name, Pharaohs, and these people, you be able to see them using the wordsmith, and you see their criminal lifestyles, right? And so we can understand how to spot the sophist, right? Or the sophist, whatever way, makes a person more comfortable, right? So this is why I use this imagery, because it's to show you these individuals, these smooth talkers, right? You'll hear them saying, that Brooklyn Magic or whatever the case may be, right? As a reference to this, this fast talking, charlatan, right? So Xandenes, right, I'm hoping I'm saying his name right, was a skeptical philosopher from Corinthian, probably the follower of the pre-Socratic Xanophanes, right? hold on a minute. Okay. Was supposed to have been the man who persuaded Menomius to become the follower of Dionysus, right? And that matters because Freemasonry, as I told you, the symbol itself is a vagina symbol, right? You know, the compass in the square is actually a vagina symbol, and we're heading into a new Hellenistic, period, right? The women is God, right? So basically the women, take over, the government and these type of things, right? And so you can see these things, right? You can hear it in the woke community, the conscious community, the women of God and these things. I think they are conscious communities, Collabo, Bobby Hammett, and the brother Panic teach Saint. Yes. I don't know personally Bobby Hammett. I'm gonna look him up. And Brother Panic. I think I heard that name. But all of them are and actually the next series that I'm gonna do is actually breaking down this satanic system, which is basically vagina worship, you know what I'm saying? And I'll be proving this. I don't like saying things without presenting the evidence. So on the next one, we will be getting into what is the satanic system exactly, like not just what it could be or whatever. We will be breaking this down, right? This Luciferian system, and how when you look at TV, when you watch the videos, when you listen to the music, you'll be able to go, oh, I see it crystal clear now. It doesn't you know what I'm saying? Like, so just wait to the next one for that. But you're absolutely right, right? Was supposed to have Dionysus, right? So, into this new vagina worship, right? The little that is known of him is derived from Sextus, who represents him as holding the most unskeptical, no, ultra skeptical opinions, and maintain that all notions are false, right? And that there is absolutely nothing true in the universe, right? So you see these type of skepticism, which is a part of this system, right? Because you can hear in Freemasonry, you got two sides. You got an operative and you got a speculative, right? So we have operative, the real things that are really happening, and the speculative, right? How to control people through speculation, right? So these are the two sides: the operative, right? The reality, which really taking place, right? And the speculative, which is where you hear, most Freemasons, they deal with the speculative, right? So Gorgias, right? Gorgias, again, I'm hoping I'm saying these names right for us, right? Was a well-known sophist whose writings showcased his ability to make counterintuitive and unpopular positions appear stronger. So we see this, like I said, within the conscious community. Egypt is in America, and they look, this is called Memphis, and right. So they're taking these fallacious claims and how to construct it to make it seem more plausible, like to make it seem like this is the reality, right? Gorgias authorized the lost works known as on the non-existent, which argues that nothing exists, right? So as you can see, the argument, the claim, and convincing the people. Now, the thing about a lot of this is it can damage a lot of people, right? And I mean here, like it can damage them. It can put them in a state of despair, loss. Like you can put people in some of the worst positions, like crush their whole world. I forgot it was a TV show. Oh, Young Sheldon, where like he went into this certain part of skepticism where he didn't even know how to continue on. Like he was ready to give up and like just do nothing because this system, right, this speculative system can damage the weaker the mind, the worse this stuff can do to people, right? And so once you understand, skepticism, rhetoric, and these type of things, you gain a power within yourself, meaning that you have liberated yourself from somebody else dictating how you operate and move, not what you do in the daily life, stopping at red lights and stuff like that. No, that's operative, right? But in the speculative, the things that you believe, right? Because the things that you believe and perceive actually dictates more of your life than the stopping and going at red lights. Those are things that you've accepted because those are just like breathing, right? If you don't stop at a red light, you're going to get hit by a car or a truck. So there's no, you know what I'm saying? But in other things, this speculation and this skepticism can damage people. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a strong mind. And this is, and since society has trained you not to be strong, these are the things that we must implement back into our schooling of our people on a daily basis. I mean, every day we must take time to study these skepticisms and these speculations and understand and have open discourse with your children, with your lovers, everything. This must, instead of, watching the TV, you're supposed to watch it and break down the rhetoric. You're supposed to say, yo, look what they trying to promote right there. Look, you know what I'm saying? And enjoy seeing that, not the sitting there and just watching the TV. You must enjoy breaking down the psychological mind game that's being played on you, but you can't know if you don't understand, these devices that are used to, basically shift society in a certain way, right? He also wrote Ecmenium of Helen, in which he presents all the possible reasons for which Helen could be blamed for causing the Trojan War and refutes each one of them. So he's teaching how, right, he's addressing all of the people who would put the blame on somebody, like, these are, and then breaking down why not. So which is more powerful, convincing the people that she was, or the fact that you come back and you turn around and you refute all of those? So he's actually addressing all of the questions and doubt inside a person's head to shift and convince them that they're wrong. That's a powerful device. You know what I'm saying? To take all of the questions that you have and then answer them in a way that, whenever you bring it up, somebody within the community will hit you with. It's like watching ESPN. Right, and you hear the commentator give his view on a player, and then like I used to watch basketball or play basketball, right? So here it is, I'm watching ESPN. They're talking about Michael Jordan or LeBron or whatever, right? And then I'm going out to play, and in the conversation of sports come up, and you can literally hear somebody regurgitating what you just heard. You know what I'm saying? So this is how that rhetoric. This is how I realized it as a youth. Like, watching and seeing how people would take information and regurgitate it. And that's how you knew the rhetoric worked, right? So when we hear the debates about who's better in basketball or football or whatever these things are, and you can hear the rhetoric and you can hear the persuading within, the context and how that is taken to, the public, and given as this is a solid fact. So you take a speculation or an opinion and it has been turned into a fact due to the fact that certain people said it. And those certain people are following a script, or they was put there only because they hold those views, right? So you put, like, say if I want to have a great sports show, right? Wouldn't I, like, if we know that the two common conversations is Jordan and LeBron and Kobe, wouldn't I want two out of the three fans to be speakers? So that way this conversation will always come up and we'll always have this debate going, and that's what's going to keep the people coming, because these are who they're debating about anyway. So every time they hit the streets they using these arguments, right? I don't involve myself in these arguments, right? I told you I'm not a debater. I'm not here to argue with you about foolishness. I'm here to educate you. So if we're going to debate about something, it's going to be the facts. It's not going to be, what we heard somebody say and we both going to be arguing about somebody's opinion. Nah, I'm not here for that. Right? Like Kofran, right? Like Kofran is mentioned as a sophist by Aristotle and was probably among the students of Gorgias. He rejected the supposed value of the aristocratic birth. Now this is gonna matter, right? Because as we go into, other people, we're going to see how this argument has shifted. Like when we look at the French Revolution, and so we understand that the monarchs were basically pushed out, and so they had a new democracy where those at the top didn't have that. So then when we look in Europe and England, right, and we can see, yeah, they still keep the image of Prince and queens and all of that, King Charles or whatever, right? But at the same time, they said that they're placed as figureheads, right? They're no longer the ones who's dictating, the government, but they still hold that seat, right? So this is what we can see through this rhetoric. Now, through time, we can see how this rhetoric has affected certain areas, and you can see it. You'll be like, oh wow, yeah, I can see, the impact. And I've done shows on the French. I don't know if I uploaded them or not, but I have shows on the French and Satanism, and how they were the ones who took that system, because they were the ones who basically rediscovered this rhetoric, right? In their first universities. Yeah, so I did a whole show. I'm gonna tag it inside here, and you can watch that one on this situation, right? Claiming that now the nobility of good birth is an obscure and its grandeur a matter of words, meaning that there is no factual difference between those well born and those low born. Only words and opinion assign value to these different circumstances of birth. He is also known for the statement that law is only a convention and surety is nothing of justice. So again, when we look at Morris Science Temple, when we look at these groups, you might call them cults or whatever, but when we look at these groups and we hear the rhetoric, we understand what part of this system was either given to them or they taken. I'm gonna most likely say given to them, because this is a structure. And so this is designed where certain groups and individuals get certain rhetorics, right? And so we can see the negative within our community. We deal with a lot of empirical skepticism, right? And this is which runs throughout our community. This is what they gave, the urban community, this empirical skepticism, right? This ultimate, I mean, like to where, your advancements is ultimately stifled because of this, right? Because you spend more time in that world than you do in the operative and things that are productive, meaning that you could spend more time arguing about Bibles and where you find yourself in it versus supporting people who are inventors and stuff like that. You wouldn't even want to hear them. Like, those people to you are wasting their time. So here it goes, when they invent something, instead of being able to keep it within the community, right? Since we are based on finances and trying to get finances, they are automatically put in a position to write patterns and all of these type of things, to where they basically take their invention and sell it for pennies on a dollar. And those in the big places get to swoop down, take that, and use it for their benefit. You see, this is how that system works, and this is why we need to change our approach. You understand what I'm saying? As a people, meaning that we need to support certain things that, those who are trying to advance and contribute to our society, right? And even though we might not be able to see it, like we see where people they got time to skydive and make suits that can glide through the air and you know what I'm saying? They got time to do that because they have that luxury, and we must find a way to provide that luxury within our community in order for us to be able to not only create these things but able to use them for our benefit and our advancement, right? So this is what the whole ideal is. Right. So then we got, he thus believed that law is a matter of agreement, a social convention, and not a natural or universal standard, which I agree with. Law is not universal, right? Because like a bad person could do something, you could do something to the bad person, and the bad group would still feel justified of going after the person who was defending themselves. So say you're getting robbed, right? And you pull out and you shoot the person who robbed you, right? The bad group is still mourning their loss. So inside their mind, you did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? You were supposed to let this person rob you. I see the lady. It was I think it was a sister or something. Her brother had like robbed something and got killed, and she was blaming the person who who shot him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sitting there like, that sounds crazy. You know what I'm saying? That sounds asinine. But what he's basically addressing. The way you perceive justice and the law depends on what group you are in, because the underworld has a philosophy different from the working man, right? And the working man has a different philosophy from the militant person, those in military and those type of fields, right? So we have these different understandings, right? Because right, and the common man to use Jesus and all of that to be humble and avoid conflict, right? Whereas the military would say this is God's nation and we must defend, and so they go out and they'll go to war with that same Jesus that you believe you're not supposed to be violent towards, right? But then the same pastor in the church would tell you don't resort to these things, but there'll be a pastor or a reverend on the battlefield giving blessings to the soldiers as they go out to war. You see, the same system being used depending on the circumstance. So that's what he was addressing, right? Criticism. Socrates was lampooned by Aristotle's, by Aristophanes and the clouds. That's his writings as a pantanic wordsmith who lived in a basket. Later, philosophers such as Plato and Xenophon sought to distinguish Socrates' ethical teachings from this comic portrayal of a sophist, right? Socrates practiced the questioning the existence and role of traditional deities and investigating into the nature of the heavens and the earth prompted popular reaction against them, right? So we can see again, this is the sophist, right? Practice the questioning of the existence and role of traditional deities. We can see in today's time the woke and conscious community breaking down God and Jesus and their history and these type of things, right? So at one point we could say yes, the sophist is an atheist, right? Right, but all day, right? So we have this group which within it who understands, right? But are they using that same information to build a new community, right? So that means that, okay, so while I'm telling you this is bogus over there, am I still doing the same thing over here, right? So when we see, the Morris science and they're telling you Jesus, you see them, they're still praying. And so they're taking you from one system, right, and bringing you into another system. So on one side, you can say, yes, they're the atheists, right? But at the same time, they're collectors of souls, collectors of minds, right? So they're the shifters. These atheists are not full-fledged, outwardly saying it because they see your benefit. Then why would we give that up? If you was already giving these people over here your money, right? When you see the Freemasons saying, "Oh, we don't discuss, God and religion," right? Like, why would we, what I'm saying, give that up? All we want you to do is come inside here so we can shift who you support and what you believe in. That's it. It's not giving up, the ranks. Nah, it's just shifting the people. Like say, if I was to say I'm an atheist, right? Meaning that I'm going out telling you, nah, none of this is real, it's all bogus. Where these people know whether or not this is bogus because they're giving you pieces and bits, but they also giving you enough to where they can shift you, right? So when we look at the Egyptologist and, oh yeah, this part they got from Egypt, you see these pictures right here. So they use this similarity, right, to shift you from one group to another. You see what I'm saying? So they're telling you over here is fake, but they're trying to convince you that this over here is real without giving you the full context of both of them, right? And understanding what what they're alluding to versus what you perceive, right? Because they're working off of perception, right? So they're using your perception to shift you from one area to another. They don't want you to necessarily have the truth. They just want your perception to change so they can use that for their benefit, right? Aristophanes, right? Stophanes, right? If I'm saying it right, I'm saying it right. The comic playwright, a contemporary of the sophists, criticized the sophists as hair-splitting wordsmiths. Like, again, we can see this in the conscious community. We can see these wordsmiths in action. You know what I'm saying? We get here to, flipping and bouncing with what it is. So that's how we know, how you're able to spot these. And the sophist, if you notice, this picture in the background is actually from a video. So if you wanted to go on YouTube, right, you'd be on YouTube, go and type in Plato Sophist. Now this one is 2 minutes and like 15 minutes long, and it's just the dialogue. So it's just be the person talking, and you're seeing the words go up. If you enjoy that, then that would be a great place. The like, for me, like the foundation of understanding not only the Sophists but the Freemason, because they're one and the same. It's just a different name, right? So, however, he made no distinction between the sophist and philosopher, and showed either of them as willing to argue any position for the right fee, right? I don't agree with that. Like I said, I see myself as, quote unquote, a philosopher, right? And as the philosopher, I don't ask for, like, look, I've been on here. I did a quick promotion of my book. Once again, let me put this up. A late night fender bender. Oh no, my fault. A late night fender bender leaves Pennell. No, my fault. I'm putting up the wrong thing, right? Let me put up my book there, right? So I don't ask for, financial, gain from doing this show, right? I say, if you want to support me, right, get something. There's no robbery and fair exchange. So if you want to support me, I don't care if you bought the book 50 times and you handed the book out to, 50 people. You have an opportunity to get one of my books. I got a few books out. I also got, Freemasonry and Yanni worship, the second killing of Jesus, which is more into what we deal here. I just don't do the major promotion on this one yet because I want to get a new cover made, and I want to do some things to it right before I put the same promotion that I put into this. That's the only reason why I haven't been promoting it as much as I do this. But just to understand what I know, right, is the point. So these to say that a philosopher will argue for the right fee, I don't agree with, right? But I understand the sophist who debates and argues and wants a fee for their felonious arguments, right? In Aristophanes' comic play, The Cloud, right, Stephanide seeks the help of Socrates in an effort to avoid paying his debt, right? So they're basically saying, like, the philosopher, people always told me when I was younger, you should have been a lawyer, because I would argue, I would debate you, but I'm not arguing and debating you to convince you of a lie. I'm arguing and debating to ward off the lie, like, meaning I'm not going to allow that into my head, so I'm going to cut you off and tell you that's bogus, right? So because of that, people go, damn, you need to be a lawyer, because I guess they was full of bull, and I was able to call them on it. You know what I'm saying? They like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So I don't agree with that statement, but I understand what he mean, that about the debating part. I just don't feel philosophers do it for the game, right? And Plato addresses this too. You need to read a lot of Plato's dialogues. You get a lot of PDF, not PDF, yeah, PDF files. Go look in Plato's dialogues, and you can read them all. Like I said, you can go the simple route and go online, and almost everything is on YouTube when it comes to this type of stuff. So you can actually just listen to the readings and stuff like that if you choose to. I mean, I would advise you to. All right. And here go the man of the hour, Socrates, right? An ongoing debate is centered on the difference between a sophist who charges for their services and Socrates who did not. Instead of giving instructions, Socrates professed a self-effacing and questioning position, exemplifying by what is known as the Socratic method. Me, myself, without even knowing Socrates, this was always been, my approach. I found out about the Socratic method because people would say, "Oh, you need to be a lawyer." So if you know in law school, like this is, one of the main tenets of teaching, which would be the Socratic method, right? And so the greatest part about giving answers while questioning is to make sure that the person that you are having a conversation with has an understanding of the subject, right? Because a lot of people, they walk in with perception. So your job is to address the perception, meaning that you don't want to get caught up arguing with somebody who really does not know the subject, right? So the best way to do that is, right, because a lot of people try to argue with you and pick your brain, right? And then, act like they don't know what they already know. Like, like they'll argue with you, no, 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 and then walk away someplace else and take your information and spread it as if it was their information. Or as they're talking to you, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that." And you're like, "Yeah, well, if you knew that, why you didn't say?" You see what I'm saying? So the best way to avoid, that frustration is, for me, like I said, I didn't know Socrates at the time. This was just something that was natural in me. Knowing that I knew information and knowing that half the damn people around me didn't read, didn't study, didn't do anything. But all of a sudden, 5 days ago you was talking about XYZ, but now when I bring this up, all of us, oh, I knew that. You see what I'm saying? So this was something that was already, innate within inside of myself. So when I understood, this is one of the tenets that helped me get into philosophy. And once I understood philosophy, like, the whole world opened up. And I'm gonna say it came from, just that one phrase, Socratic method. And from that, looking into philosophy, Plato, and, all of these different people, and then understanding, oh, this is what, is going on. So this is why I give it back to you and stress, yo, learn, philosophy in its full context. And the greatest way to learn philosophy is go to its roots, right? So when they ask you Western philosophy and they when you type in Western philosophy and they tell you Plato, that's where you need to start. You know what I'm saying? You start from there and you work your way backwards and you work your way forward at the same time, right? Because as you work your way forward, you see how we're here today, right? But if you work your way from there backwards, you see how we got there in order for us to get here. It's a strange thing, but I would advise you, to study philosophy. Start from Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. Work your way forward and work your way back simultaneously. Like while you studying, you're gonna hear names. Pull them up and read them. Like you gotta be like 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 8, 9 books around you at the same time, and you just flipping through them and connecting the dots and going, okay, now I understand what is going on. Right? Socrates' attitude towards the Sophists was not entirely oppositional. He did, according to Plato, because everything I know about Socrates I got from Plato. So, according to Plato, there were things that he says where you can see, Socrates was a Sophist, or in today's term, a Freemason, who basically went against the grain, right? And he was forced to basically drink poison, right? And basically we could see that with Malcolm X getting killed, breaking away from the Nation of Islam. We can see well, I believe it was no, not Elijah Muhammad. Who was it? when he broke away from the Moorish Science Temple. Like it was like these these results of that breaking away, Clarence Sachs breaking away from the Nation of Islam, what's my brother, um, Khalif, Malik, I forgot his name, Khalif, a minister, a good brother, but sorry I couldn't get his name right now, but same thing happened to him breaking away from the Nation of Islam as well, right? So, Issachrat, right, is one of the few speeches that have survived from ancient Greece is aristocrats against the sophists, right? So as we can see, there's growing against once people understood what the sophists were up to, like just like now when we see with Freemasonry, like then you see this full push. So my full push is because, as the sophist, as the Freemason, and as I understand the game that they playing, no, I don't agree with it because, shifting the people in such a way is I find to be wicked. In particular, Issachrat wanted to establish an institution that educated Athenians students in the manner that would promote the success of Athenian democracy. And so this is where I would come in, right? I'm against the Sophists, and I'm here, promoting a new philosophy geared towards, African, black, quote unquote, people. So whatever, that diaspora, if you see yourself within that range, then this would be for you. If you don't believe that we came from Africa and we was already here, and this ain't for you. Y'all got your own philosophy, and I ain't here to argue with you. You know what I'm saying? This is for a different group. Plato, right? This is my boy. I don't really mess with too many people, but I like Plato. Dialogues presents his general only, and this is because through Plato I was able to understand the game. So if you truly want to understand what's going on, I'm telling you, you need to read Plato. After you read Plato, I guarantee you everything in your life will change. Right? Plato's dialogues present his general hostile views on the sophist thought, due to which he is largely responsible for the modern view of the sophist as an Avichivius instructor who teaches deception. So this is who, like I said, like I already was studying Freemasonry, I already had a great understanding, but from this, like all of those, those missing pieces came clear. I got it, when I was around 20, I came across a book which I did on here called The Master's Carpet, right? And from that, I read a whole bunch of anti-Masonic books, and that's what gave me everything I needed to know up until I started studying philosophy and having a broader understanding of what was taking place. So, first I got my understanding, the meat and potatoes, you know what I'm saying, I got from the Master's Carpet, meaning as far as forming this religion and all of that. Now once I placed that beside philosophy, Christianity and these type of things, it became crystal clear what was taking place. So this is what I would advise you to do as well. Right? Plato describes sophists as paid hunters after the youth, right? So we know, Freemasonry and all of that, right? The wealthy as merchants of knowledge and athletics and the contest of words and perjurers of souls, right? So we see again, we can look at the conscious community, And we can see exactly what he is making his claim on. From Plato's assessment, the Sophists, it could be concluded that Sophists do not offer true knowledge, but only an opinion of things. Right. And so from that, if we were to look at, Sonetta and these type of shows, I can guarantee you once you go into them and you re-look at them, you'll be like, when you listen to these people talk and when they question, you can hear how they'll take an opinion and make it a fact. You can hear how they take perceptions and make it a fact, especially if you have done your own research and you be like, oh, so this is how this works. And remember, in Freemasonry, one of the key things is helping your brother out, whether he is right or wrong. And when they say right or wrong, in most of the cases, they mean in his presentation, right? So as long as there are people, like say if I say some bogus stuff and I got like 4 or 5 people there saying, nah, that's true, even if you questioning me, the beating in the head, should we say, right, as Hiram, as happened to Hiram, in most cases, you would be Hiram, and these would be the Masons, those beating you in the head and taking that true information and turning it into false with rhetoric, right? So these symbolisms are actually how this system works, right? And this is what we mean about opinion of things, right? So Plato described them as shadows of the true, saying the art of contradiction making descended from an insincere kind of conceited mimicry of the semblance making breed, derived from image making, distinguished as portions, not divine but human, of production that presents a shadow play of words, such are the blood and the lineage which perfect truth can assign to the authentic sophist, right? So basically, these guys will take the truth, take what you say. That's what I mean by mimicking, and try to flip what you say. So say you say some truth, they'll say yeah, but, and then flip that, like they'll agree with it and then add some bogusness on it in order for them to keep leverage. Right. And so this is why you need to practice the Socratic method in order to trap the sophist. Right. Don't give information without understanding if the person that you are giving it to truly understands what they are talking about. Right. So when you engage in a conversation, look up the Socratic method and understand. Like, I was born with it. So I didn't, like I said, I found out because I was getting in so much conflict in the way I looked up, what would it be called? For somebody like myself, and that's how I came across this, right? Plato sought to distinguish sophists from philosophers, arguing that a sophist was a person who made his living through deception, whereas a philosopher was a lover of wisdom who sought the truth. So both could argue, both can get paid, right? He's not arguing the financial part. His thing is saying one is out to deceive you deliberately, fast talking charlatans, right? And the other is a lover of wisdom, information, and, who sought the truth and is attempting to give it to you. So that's again why, if we're going to go by these descriptions, I would be, a philosopher, and the conscious community would still be sophist. Right? Okay, influence. The early sophists charged money in exchange for education and provided wisdom, and so were typically employed by wealthy people. right? So we understand again when we look at, polite and any of these conscious, leaders, we can see, the financial gain and this, falsehood, even though it is sound good. But remember, it's all based on perception. It's not about, it's how you perceive the Bible. I can talk all day about it because it doesn't matter, right? Because it's all about perception. And my job is to change your perception. So if you don't know the truth, I don't have to give you the truth. All I have to do is bounce off your perception of the lie to benefit me. So if we're talking about Jesus and these type of things, and I'm using Egypt and these type of things, and I'm still not giving you the truth within it, all I'm doing is transferring you from one group to the other to benefit myself. The practice resulted in the condemnation made by Plato through Socrates in his dialogue, as well as by Xenophon in his memorabilia, and somewhat controversial, controversially by Aristotle, which I'ma personally say Aristotle went back, even though he was a student of Plato, he went back into the direction of the Sophist, right? Aristotle did not actually accept payment from Philip, Alexander's father, right? But requested that Philip reconstruct Aristotle's hometown of Stegria as payment, which Philip had destroyed in a previous campaign, terms which Philip accepted, right? So I think that was a big payday, right? Even though we can, I'm not mad at him for, getting his town rebuilt, but I'm saying at the same time, we can say that that was pay, but that's not why I'm saying he went back into the Sophist for that. No, that's not it. I'm just, being facetious and being funny right there. But there's other reasons, which I'll be getting into later, but I'm trying to go through this. That's why I'm not trying to, keep going. Oh, damn, I thought the time was different. I'm tripping out here. Okay. Influence. Aristotle and Alexander the Great had a close and influential relationship. Now, this matters because, as we said, with the building of Jesus, right? So we, if you look at the philosophers, right, let's say, okay, we can go from Aristotle, backwards, right, all the way to Pythagoras, who came out of Egypt, and we hear these sayings, oh, they got it from Egypt, and these are what they're referring to. When you hear this in the conscious community, this is actually what they're referring to. This cult-like, system that allows to shift and control the masses, with small amounts of people. And we'll be getting into that because, when you study Pythagoras, you understand, he's basically the father of the cults that we see in the Western world, right? He's like the founder of that. So when we understand this system, right, and what it takes to build, a god and these type of things, we can go into Aristotle, right? We can see him dealing with Alexander the Great, who was an influence. Aristotle was Alexander's teacher and mentor, who taught him philosophy, politics, science, and art. But here's the most important thing. Aristotle also inspired Alexander's ambition to conquer the Persian Empire and spread Greek culture. Right. So from this, right, in this inspiration and getting into one of the most, powerful people at the time, they were able to set up their foundation. So when, you go into my book, Freemasonry and Yanni Worship, and I tell you about, the creation of Jesus, right? through these philosophers, Plato and, Socrates and these stories, and we place them side by side with the allegories within the story, within, the Bible, we'll be able to see what was really being referred to, right? Ambition to conquer the Persian. Alexander, in turn, impressed Aristotle with his curiosity and intelligence and provided him the resources and specimens for his studies. Right? Democracy. The Sophists' rhetorical techniques were useful as for any young nobleman seeking public office. Now that's why I showed you in the beginning with Dada and from the Shah show, just these examples of showing how you can have this element. And I know at this point we're talking nobles, but from the criminal element as well, right? Because the system is from the underworld, right? So we can understand that. Sophists contributed to the new democracy in part by exposing expertise in public deliberations and the foundation of decision making, which allowed and perhaps required a tolerance of the beliefs of others, right? So remember, we're talking about beliefs, right, and perceptions. So in order for you to be profitable in this, you would have to be tolerant of people's beliefs and learn how to use those beliefs, meaning that you don't take the belief from them by telling them the truth. No, you bend their beliefs by persuasion and shifting them over to another side, right? Most people believe they understand democracy and these type of things. You don't tell them the truth. What you do, I'm not saying I wouldn't, I'm saying what they doing is they're not telling them the truth. They're just giving them a way to shift the persuasion, their perception of things, right? By the way, don't forget, hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell so you can be notified whenever new content is being uploaded or whenever we go live like now, right? So, Sophists contribute of things, right, of others. In addition, Sophists had a great impact on the early development of law, as the Sophists were the first lawyers in the world. Right, so I don't know if they were the first lawyers in the world because you had legal systems and Babylon as well as Egypt. So I think when they make that claim, I think they're making it in the sense of new what we say in Western philosophy, right? In the new Western world, these would be your first lawyers. Education. Athens. The Sophists were the first formal teachers of the art of speaking and writing in the Western world. The Sophists offered quite different empiric fields from that mapped by Aristotle. According to scholar Susan Jarrett, writer of rereading the Sophist classical rhetorical refigured, right? The Sophists taught their students two main techniques: the usage of Sophistism and contradictions. Right? So that's what the skill is, right? For the Sophists, the primary purpose was with the dispute and win the dispute in order to prove their excellence in word usage. So it had nothing to do with telling the truth. Like, so when we see the conscious community in the debates, it has nothing to do with the truth. It has to do with who won the debate. Like, who do you think won? So it ain't about who presented the truth. It's just who persuades you better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you get when you listen to Sinetta in these shows, right? The Sophist taught contradiction. For the Sophists, the primary purpose was to win the dispute in order to prove their excellence in word usage. Sophists were not limited to their were a lot limited in their speeches only to topics in which they were aware. Right, so that means they could talk about things they didn't know. This is why you would use the Socratic method, because they don't necessarily have to know the subject. All they have to do is wait for you to say certain things and then contradict you on it and act like they hold the superiority. And that's what the Sophist is. So learn the Socratic method if you do not want this system to be worked on you. Right? The classical traditions in rhetoric and composition refer more to philosophers such as Aristotle, Girico, Quintilian, than to the Sophists, right? Owing largely to the influence of Plato and Aristotle, philosophy came to be regarded as a distinction from sophistry, the latter being regarded as fictitious and rhetorical and practical disciplines. Thus, by the time of the Roman Empire, the sophist was simply a teacher of rhetoric and a popular public speaker. Many rhetoricians during the period were instructed under the specialties in Greek rhetorical studies as part of their standard education. So this is why I say we as a people need to understand this, like throughout our community on a large scale. Cicero, a prominent rhetorician during this period in Rome history, is one such example of the influence of the second Sophic on Roman education. So, like I said, it wasn't like because they were being called out, like me, calling out the Moors and stuff. Now all of a sudden you'll hear groups, they'll still use the same rhetoric, but they'll tell you, "No, I'm not a Moor," because they're still Masons. They can easily drop whatever coat they came in the room under, right? So they can wear any coat. It doesn't really matter. That's not what their whole thing is about. It's just to deceive and convince you. Right? Cicero was instructed in Greek rhetoric throughout his youth, as well as in other subjects of Roman rubric under Archias. Right? In his writing, Cicero was said to have shown a synthesis that he achieved between Greek and Roman culture, summed up in his work De Orateur. Right, so he basically unified the two understandings, right? The Greek and that's why I put the two pictures there, Greek and Roman. Modern usage. you see, I put was your boy Louis Farrakhan there. In the modern usage, and I don't mean this as a fallout insult towards him. I'm just saying as far as these people, right? In the modern usage, Sophism, sophist, or sophistry are used disparagingly. And like we can say, he freely, Louis Farrakhan freely admitted that he was a Mason. The Nation of Islam is a Masonic group, right? A Sophism, just like the Moors will admit it, right? Sophism and sophistry is a fallacious argument, especially one used deliberately to deceive, right? So this is what I mean. On one side, we can say that they use fallacious arguments to deceive, but was the deception in a bad way? Meaning that if they told you cat, rat, and dog, is what a pig is made of in order to get you to stop eating swine, they made a fallacious argument, right? They deceived you by telling you that it was a cat, rat, and dog. But did they have to do that in order to get you on a healthier path? Perhaps so, because, the devil was so deep up in there. So, like I said, I don't always go after these people in this ultimate negative. You know what I'm saying? It's not always in a negative. I can see the negative in it, but sometimes you should be able to see the negative and see if it's being used in a more constructive way. So yes, on one side I can say the construction, but on the other side you can see them still turning into a religion and got people praying and all of these type of things while on the street telling you the black man is God. The Sophist is a Platonic dialogue. This is where you need to watch. This is what you should go see, right? As you can see, this is the video in the background. Is a Platonic dialogue from the philosopher's late period, most likely written in 360 BC. And the the interlocutor, led by a listicle stranger, employed the method of division in order to classify and define the Sophist, right? And describe his essential attributes and differentiate from the philosopher and the statesman. So basically, in this dialogue, he's talking to the students and he's asking questions. Right now, as he's asking these questions, he's breaking down things in like in different fields. So like the farmer and how the farmer operates, and so he's giving these examples and showing how to break down and have a clear understanding of the Sophist, the Mason, I must say. And this is why I say, go look at this. And this is not my video. I didn't put it up, but I do support it 100%. Because Socrates is silent, it is difficult to attribute the views put forward by the Elastician stranger to Plato. Beyond the difficulties inherent in taking any character to be an author mouthpiece. So basically, like, sure, he uses Plato, and we understand that he was trying to clear Plato's name from being a sophist, but we still can't say whether or not these are the views of him, because this is somebody writing for him. Right, this is, even though that was his student, we still can't attribute that to him. Right, background. The main objective of the dialogue is to identify what a sophist is and how a sophist differs from a philosopher and a statesman. Right, meaning that the statesman is working, for the government. The philosopher is working for the truth, and the sophist, is out there to confuse and deceive you to put money in his pocket. Right. So, as you're looking at the woke community, you look inside there and you say, okay, how many of these people are actually working to give the truth, and how much of it is actually work to just, profit off of those who are being deceived? In Cartelian's contemporary or slightly preceding the Republic, Pluto poses the problem deceived from the use of dialects for cognitive purposes of the relationship between name, things, between words and reality. Right? The dialogue takes place a day after Pluto's Theacius is in an unspecified gymnasium in Athens. The participants are Socrates, who plays a minor role, the elder mathematician Theodus, the younger mathematician Theiretius, and the visitors and a visitor from Ile, the hometown of Parmenides and Zeno, who is often referred to in the English translation as the elastical stranger or the elastic visitor. Right, the dialogue begins when Socrates arrives and asks the elastic stranger whether he and whether in his homeland, the sophist, the statesperson, and the philosopher are considered to be one of a kind or three. The stranger responds that they are three and then sets about to give an account of the sophist through dialectical exchanges with Tithidius, right? So through this person, he's going to, since he has an understanding that these are three separate entities, right? These are three separate positions. He goes into being able, because they are categorized in themselves as three, he's able to show this category and how the sophist operates, or the Freemason in this case, right? Introduction. Method of definition. The elastic stranger pursues a different definition than features in Plato's other dialogues by using a model, comparing the model with the target kind, collection, and division of the collected kind. So that's what we're saying about breaking things up into different sections. The same is true with the collection of learning, recognition, commerce, combat, and hunting, which can be grouped into the kinds of acquisitive arts, right? So you can see how he's breaking this down. The sophist is a kind of merchant. He's selling a belief, right? Sophia. Now this is what we was talking about inside the comments. Is an Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church the feminine personification of the divine wisdom, as holy wisdom can refer either to Jesus Christ, Word of God, or the Holy Spirit. So this is what I was telling on code, right? When I was telling on code 24/7 that yes, this is where the sophist and we can say, the Jesus and the Catholic Church comes in, right? Greek and Hellenistic traditions further information, Logos, Patranius, seven sages of Greece, the Gnostics before Plato. The term for sound judgment, intelligence, practical wisdom, and so on, such qualities are ascribed to the seven sages of Greece, was Phoronis. I'm sorry, I can't get that. From Phanes. Wow. Sophia referred to the technical skill. The term philosophia was primarily used after the time of Pluto, following his teacher Socrates, though it has been said that Pythagoras was the first to call himself a philosopher. Right? Sophia. Sophia named as one of the four cardinal virtues in Plato's Pythagoras. Now we can hold on, it's gonna give you some more information. All right. Christian theology. Christian theology receives the Old Testament personification of divine wisdom. The connection of divine wisdom and the concept of the logos resulted in the interpretation of holy wisdom as an aspect of Christ, the logos. Logos. The expression itself is not found in the New Testament, even though passages in the Pauline espouse to equate Christ with the wisdom of God. All right, so this is where we get this feminine quality at. Christology. Following 1 Corinthian church fathers named Christ as wisdom of God, reconstructing the Hagia Sophia Palestine in Istanbul. Constantine the Great set a pattern for Eastern Christians by dedicating a church to Christ as the personification of divine wisdom. So this is where they're saying, the feminine qualities come in. As in theology in the Eastern Orthodox Church, holy wisdom is understood as the divine logos who became incarnated as Jesus, right? This belief being sometimes also expressed some Eastern Orthodox icons there in some Eastern Orthodox icons, right? There is a Hagiographical tradition dating to the late 6th century of the Saint Sophia and her three daughters, Saints Faith, Hope, and Charity. Those were, remember when I said, hold on a minute, when we seen that picture and we seen these are the statues in which we can see. So we see they're all feminine. So we see that when we see this Sophia or this Sophie, we can see the feminine aspects as well. Iconograph. The Christological identification of Christ, the Logos, with divine wisdom is strongly represented in the iconograph tradition of the Russian Orthodox Church. The name of icon in the theorist is Wisdom hath builded her house, right? Female. A quote from Proverbs 9:1, right? Interpreted as prefigured and prefigured the incarnation with the diabolically, whatever, I'm not getting that right there, right? Being the house chosen by the Hippocratic wisdom, no, hypostatic wisdom, right? Christian mysticism. The Russian Orthodox mysticism and Russian Orthodox mysticism, Sophia became increasingly indistinguishable from the person Theokokius, whatever, to the point of the implication of the Theokokius as a fourth person of the Trinity, right? Bascovi theology, known as Sophism, right, presents divine wisdom as consubstantiated of the Holy Trinity, operating as an aspect of constability or hypostaticity, and of the Trinity of the three hypostases, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Mother, which safeguarded the unity of the Holy Trinity. Leeds was influential by the Theophilus. I got this. This is too small. I should have made this bigger. Theophilical writings of 16th century Germany, Christianity, mystics, G.O.D, right? Who also speaks of the Sophia in the works such as The Way of the Christ. So as we can see the picture in the picture here, we can see around him is the feminine aspect, right? So when you hear a lot of people telling you that Christianity, doesn't love the women, and that's not true. Right, the Holy Spirit represents, the mother, the female aspect. Then we come to the end here. Personification. Sophia is not a goddess in the classical Greek tradition. Greek goddess associated with wisdom were Matisse and Athena. Thus, in the library of Cilius and Iphius, built in the late 2nd century, there are 4 statues of female allegories depicting wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, and value and excellence, right? So we can see, even as they was building Christianity, there was systems being built right around the time to take it down, because they wanted to get back to their old ways. Right? Modern reception statues of Sophia, Bulgaria, a goddess. The goddess Sophia was introduced into atheograph by its founders, Rudolf Steiner, in his book The Goddess from Nurture to Divine Sophia, in a later compilation of his writings titled Isis, Mary, Sophia. Right? So when we say, again, Freemasonry, the second Freemasonry and Yanni worship, the second killing of Jesus, we can see right here how this feminine aspect has been lurking and has been waiting to take over and bring you back into an LBG community where they are, this is what they want. You know what I'm saying? This is why Sarah turned to salt when she looked back, you know what I'm saying, at Sodom and Gomorrah, right? This is the reason why. This is the symbolism, because she did not want to give that life up. She appreciated the fact that they would rather, go after each other, even though he was offering the daughter. She was pleased the fact that, nah, she rather men on men and be left alone. So, this is the end, people, of my presentation, well, on identifying the sophist or the sophist in modern times. The Freemason, right? The 33rd degree Mason, and what are they doing? So we will be breaking down more of this, right, in the next one, because I got told on code, right, that we will be addressing, let me see which is the title I'm gonna use. Well, basically, how to construct, this belief and pass it through the community. Now, this will have to do a lot with what we've now known as hypnotism and mesmerism. These all things will play a part because these are things that I already covered, so I won't have to necessarily recover them. All I can do is just tag them in, and you can get a full understanding within its modern context. So this is just was showing you how to identify them through this rhetoric, through this speculative, operating system, perception, and how it, moves and control the masses, right? But we will be getting more deeper into it. So next time, thank you for joining us here at the Valley of Dry Bones, where we will wake the dead even if they don't want it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell so you can be notified whenever new content is uploaded or we go live. Peace.